Hello again. We are going to look at another way to take more tricks when you are declaring. So we talked last week about finessing and um, establishing a long suit. Now, those two ways that we talked about last week, we were mainly thinking of in a no trump contract where just high card wins. But actually, those techniques can be used whether you're playing in a no trump contract or a suit contract. A suit contract that has a trump suit. But there's two other ways that you can create tricks, especially only in a trump contract. And we're going to look especially at those. So we're going to talk about winning, taking tricks, counting your winners and losers, planning a line of play. A line of play is how you're going to approach a hand, which suits you're going to play first, second, third. Trumping losers when you hold a 5-3 fit. That means 5 trumps in one hand, 3 in the other. And trumping when you hold a 4-4 fit. And you have 4 trumps in each hand. So what I want you to do is look at the cards between the two hands individually, your two hands, opener and responder, or dummy and declare. And I want you to count the winners in each suit, noticing how the cards in each of the hands work together to either form tricks or to help you think of a way you might create extra tricks. Your sure winners are your aces, your ace-king combinations when you have an ace and a king in the same suit, whether in one hand or between the two of you. Honor card combinations, like a king and queen together in one suit, queen, jack, 10, that type of thing. When you're counting winners in a non-trump suit, so not your trump suit, but a non-trump suit, you can never count more winners than the hand with the longest number of cards. So let's look at that. Suppose you had this suit. You had the contract was clubs, clubs were trumps, but in hearts, you had the ace, the queen, the 10, and the 2 in one hand, and the king, jack, 4 in the second. How many heart winners would you have? Well, you can see that ace, king, queen, jack, 10, that's 5, and that's the highest ones. But what you have to remember is you're only going to be able to win 4 tricks because every time you lead a heart, you're going to have to follow with the other hand, right? So you would lead the king, and the king would take the 2. And you would always want to play the high card from the hand with shortness first. So we have cards in both hands. One of the hands has a shorter number of cards than the second hand. So we would play the high card from the hand with shortness first. Now that doesn't mean that we have to lead the king. We could play the 2 from the dummy hand to the king. That's the same thing. We're just going to cash that one, play that card first. Probable winners are winners that you expect you are going to have. So what are your probable winners here? Between your two hands, you have 8 clubs. The opponent's cards will most likely split 3 in one hand, 2 in the other. So after 3 rounds of the suit have been played, the 4th card is likely to be a winner. Any cards after 3 rounds have been played should become winners. We're going to practice that. Remember, look at the cards in each suit between your two hands individually. You're going to count sure and mathematically probable winners in each suit, anything over 60%. Don't count possible tricks as winners. If you need a finesse to win a trick, we wouldn't count it. So when we start practicing, that's how you're going to think about the winners in your hand between those two suits. But there's another aspect to it, right? We're also going to have losers, cards that are not going to win a trick. Not only are they not going to win a trick, when the opponents lead that suit, they're going to win. When you're counting your losers, one of the things to keep in mind is what number of tricks can I afford to lose and still make my contract? When you count your probable losers, use the percentages. When playing a trump hand, never count more losers than the number of cards in the shortest hand. You can never have more losers than the hand with the fewest number of cards. What does that mean? So here, if you had clubs four trumps and you had these cards, what are your possible losers? What do you think you might lose? Well, I think I might lose the king of clubs. That was certainly possible. But I do have 8 clubs between my 2 hands. So after I play 3 rounds of clubs, my 4th club should be a winner. So I think I'll lose the king, or I have to think I might lose the king. But that's the only possible losers that I think I might have. What if we didn't have the jack? How does that change things? Well, now we only have 7 clubs, right? And we're missing the king. So we know we have to lose the king. And since clubs will probably split 4 in one hand, 2 in the other, we might lose to the jack as well. So we probably have 2 losers. So it's all about how the cards interplay with each other. You really have to mentally kind of put those cards together and see what you're missing. So let's give it a try. Each player is going to take one suit. As the cards are called out, you're going to put them down in the appropriate hand, face up in columns like dummy. Okay? So each player, you're going to have one suit, and we're going to call the cards and tell you which cards go in north, which in east, which in south, which in west. And you're going to put them face up in column. Place the remainder of the cards face down in the pocket in the board in front of you. So if we only give you cards for 2 hands, then just put the rest down in the back in the pocket. Here's our first one. These are the cards that you should have face up on the table. I'm going to walk with you through it with you on this one. And we're going to count our winners and we're going to count our losers. Okay. So how many spade winners do we have? We don't have any. We don't have an ace. We don't have a king. We have no spade winners. No king-queen combination. What about losers? How many losers do we have? Well, remember, our contract is clubs, right? So we're only going to have one loser in spades. Once the ace is played and the 8 is gone from the south hand, we can trump any other time that spades are led. So after that 8 of spades is gone, if one of the opponents plays like the king of spades, we're not going to let them win it, are we? No, we're going to trump it. What about in hearts? We have one winner, the ace. And what about our losers? We have 0 losers because once we play the ace, the 3 up in the north hand will go underneath the ace. And if we lead a heart, or if one of the opponents plays the king of hearts, we can trump with the 2 of clubs. So we're not going to lose any hearts. Let's look at diamonds. Well, we have 2 for sure winners, the ace and the king. We might win a 3rd diamond since we have 8 diamonds between our 2 hands. So after 3 rounds are played, our 4th diamond might become a winner. When your winners are in length in a non-trump suit, you always have to be a little careful to remember that after you play it 3 times, or after you play it 2 times, someone is not going to have any diamonds. So if you're trying to think, oh, I'm going to take 3 tricks in diamonds because my 4th diamond will be good, you need to factor in that I'm going to have to make sure the opponents don't have any trumps left at that point. And your losers? 1, the queen. We can recognize that we might finesse for the queen, lead towards the jack, and hope that the queen is in a west hand, but we can't count on it. And clubs. Well, we have 4 winners. We have 9 clubs, including the ace, queen, jack, 10. Once the king is played, all of our remaining clubs will win tricks. And our losers? Well, we have to plan on 1. We're going to lose the king, but we can recognize that we might be able to finesse for the king of clubs, hoping that it's in the east hand and not lose any clubs. But see, when we're making our plan, you want to be kind of pessimistic that things are going to go wrong. Because then when they go right, your finesse works, the suit breaks. Well, now you just have extra tricks. So we make a plan that will work or that we hope will work, even if some things go wrong. And what we're hoping is that things go right. All right. So what you're going to do is look at the hands number 1 through 3 in your manual. They're on page 41. If you want to put cards on the table, just so you can see the cards down, that's fine. Some people work much better looking at physical cards than they do a picture in a book. Work together, count your winners and losers in each set of 2 hands in your manual. Try counting 1 suit at a time. First look at the spades, then the hearts, then the diamonds, then the clubs, and then put those numbers together. If time allows, you can go back and look at the suits and think about how you could play the suit, maybe to create an extra trick. Maybe there's a finesse that you might be able to do, or maybe you can establish some long tricks. But right now, we're concentrating on our winners and losers, just flat, without trying anything fancy. Just get a grasp of where you stand so you know where you need to get to. All right. So you might recognize this firsthand. We just did it together, didn't we? So this is what you should have come up with. Recognizing that we have 2 diamond tricks, we might even have 3. That what y'all got, I hope. And now the second hand. In spades, we have 1 winner and 1 loser. In hearts, we have no winners and 3 losers. In diamonds are trumps. We have 5 winners and 1 loser. And in clubs, you had 2 winners and no losers. Now, sometimes people think they have 2 spade winners. Well, remember, it depends on who has the ace. If we lead it, you kind of count that if I lead the king, someone will win the ace, and then my queen will become a winner, right? In hearts, a lot of times people think that queen of hearts is going to be a winner. I've played a lot of bridge, and the times that my opponents take their ace and king and get my little cards are few and far between. They like to capture my honor cards. So I would never think that the queen would be a winner. It'd be just lucky for me if it happens. In diamonds, we have 8 diamonds between our 2 hands. We have the king, queen, jack, 10. So once the ace is gone, the remaining diamonds I have will be good, will be winners. And in clubs, I have the ace. In clubs, I have the ace and king. That's my 2 winners. I have no losers because once I've played the king of clubs and the 6 of clubs from the south hand, anyone leads clubs, whether it's me leading a club from dummy or one of my opponents leading a club, I'm not going to lose the trick. I'm going to trump it. And the last, in spades, I have 3 winners and 1 loser. The queen. In hearts, I have 1 winner and no losers because after my 10 has fallen under the ace, if any of my opponents lead a heart, I will trump it. I will not let them win a heart trick. In diamonds, I have 1 winner. I have no losers because after my ace is gone, if one of my opponents leads a diamond, I will trump it. In clubs, I have 5 winners and no losers. I have the ace, the king, the queen, the jack, the 10. I have all the good clubs. The thing I would have to remember is if I'm trying to win club tricks, I need to make sure that the opponents no longer have any trumps at the point I start to try to win all of my clubs. Okay, so let's see what that means. Why do we have to count our winners and losers? There's a relationship between your winners and losers. In a trump contract, when you have a trump contract, if you add together the number of winners and losers you hold in each suit and subtract that number from 13, what that's going to tell you, if the number is 0, you can't create any extra tricks by trumping. It means that you should just lead your trumps and take the opponent's trumps out of their hand, and then either finesse if that's what you need to do, or establish a long suit, but you're not going to create any extra tricks by trumping. Doesn't mean you don't trump something, but just recognize you're not creating an extra trick when you do. If there is a remainder, that indicates the number of tricks you could create by trumping losers. So suppose your winners and your losers adds up to 11. 13 minus 11 is 2. We can create 2 extra tricks by trumping. As declarer, before you play, what you need to do is take a few minutes to determine where you can win the tricks you need, and then plan how to play the hand to take them. It's called your line of play. And you should do that from the very beginning. Now, I can tell you when you start, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to do it. But it's important to hone that talent. So you always want to just take those few minutes and really think about how you're going to play. Don't just jump in and start playing cards. Think about how you're going to create tricks. And the things to remember are whether I'm going to pull trumps or trump losers, my timing and my transportation, and how I'm going to create winners if I don't have enough winners to make my contract. So let's look at that. Pulling trumps is the term we use to talk about leading your trump cards until the opponents no longer have any trumps in their hand. That's called pulling trumps. So what you need to ask yourself is, do I need to pull trump before I win tricks in my non-trump suits? So the 2 examples we gave you where you had that long suit that you could win some tricks in, you'd need to pull trump out of the opponent's hand before you tried to take all those tricks. Trumping losers. Maybe you have some losers that you need to trump. If so, you may need to delay pulling trump until some losers have been eliminated. So you might lead those play those losing cards and trump them before you pull trumps, before you take the trumps for the opponent's hand. Remember, when you're pulling trumps and taking them from the opponent's hand, remember, when you're pulling trumps, you're also taking, when you're taking from the opponent's hand, you're also taking trumps from your hands as well, right? Deciding when to play each suit, that's your timing. Timing is the decision about which suits you want to play first and which ones to play later in the hand. So you need to always ask yourself, do I need to play my clubs first, or should I play trumps first? Should I pull trumps before I play this long suit? That's your timing, deciding about which suits to play first. And your transportation. Transportation is the method by how declarer moves between dummy and his hand. And it's often critical to lead towards certain high cards and to lead suits at the right time, your timing, to maximize your ability to take tricks. Ask if I have a choice in which hand should I win a trick. We had a hand a moment ago where we had the king and queen and a small spade, right? Well, if I want to win 2 tricks in spades, I would need to lead from my hand towards the king. If that won, I'd want to cross back to my hand to lead towards the queen, right? I'd want to lead twice towards those cards. So your transportation is kind of recognizing that I want to lead towards that suit twice. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do it once? How am I going to get back to my hand to do it again? And you have to decide when to lose a trick. In some hands, you have to lose a trick to the opponents to set up the ability to take additional tricks. Especially when you first start, you have this idea in your head, oh, I can't let them win. I've got to take my tricks first. Sometimes that's not always right. Sometimes you need to lose a trick before you create more tricks. Create the tricks you need before you take the tricks you already have. When you count it, your trump tricks in a trump contract, you have a discrepancy between your winners and losers. The most common method to trump losers and create extra tricks is by trumping with the trumps in the hand that has the shortest trumps. Or you can trump more than once in a hand when you have equal trumps, 4-4. So look at this hand. Here's our trumps. We have 8 trumps between our 2 hands. That means the opponents have 5. We expect the suit will break 3 in one hand, 2 in the other, correct? When I'm counting these spades, I would count that I have 5 spade tricks, because after the ace, king, queen is played, I would think that the 6 and the 4 would be winners, right? So let me ask you, if I'm playing a hand out and I lead a suit and trump with the 4 of spades, did I create an extra trick? I didn't, because that little 4 is one of the cards I already counted when I said I had 5 trumps. But if I can trump with the 5 of spades and north, I still get my 5 that I counted, ace, king, queen, 6, and 4, and that 5 becomes an extra trick. So I have 3 in one hand, 5 in the other. If I trump with the trump in the shortest hand, that creates an extra trick. Let's give it a try. Now 4-4 fits a little bit different. Here, how many tricks do we have? We expect that we are going to win 4 spade tricks, right? Yay. But what we should know is after we played the ace and king and queen, the opponents will no longer have any trumps. We'll be left with 1 trump in the south hand and 1 trump in the north hand. So actually, when you have a 4-4 fit, you should recognize that once you've pulled all their trumps, you're not going to play lead trumps again. So you're going to be left with 1 trump in north, 1 trump in south. And you'll take those separately. So we kind of know when we're in a 4-4 fit that we have a potential to win 5 tricks pretty easily. It just worked that way. After 3 rounds, the opponents will no longer have any trumps. I'll have 1 left in each hand. So if I trump with one of those, that's not really an extra trick. It's kind of an expected trick. But what if I trump with the 4 of spades and the 5 of spades? So I trump twice in the south hand. I'm still going to get the ace, the king, the queen, and the jack. So I'll still win those 4 with the queen and jack playing underneath that 8 and 7, right? Or on top of the 8-7. But I'll also get the 4 and the 5. And that's my extra trick. If I trump twice in one of the hands, I have created a trick I didn't expect. Let's give it a try. We'll see how you do. How did you do? Did you take some extra tricks? I hope so. All right. Things to think about every single time you play. The percentages. Counting your winners, the number of tricks you have, and the number you need to make your contract. Where are those going to come from? Count your losers, the number of losers you can identify, and the number of tricks you can afford to lose and still make your contract. Your timing, your transportation. Those are all really important. And there's a tendency, especially when you're new, to just jump into a hand and start playing. If you'll just give it a few minutes right at the very beginning, you'll be amazed how much easier it is to win tricks and play these hands out. And if you can, more tricks is always better. If you can safely create more tricks, that's just great. I have really enjoyed this. I hope y'all are going to have fun playing. Sure and get back with me if there's anything I can do to teach y'all some more or help you out. Have fun. Bridge is supposed to be fun, and it is.